In this episode of The Conversation with Lawrence Jarrett, he's a professional matchmaker, a best-selling author, and host of popular shows featured on Oprah's own network and on BET. He's a startup founder and one of the brightest young minds on the subjects of business and technology. He's Paul Carrick Brunson, and recently we sat down in Washington, D.C., just blocks away from the White House, to speak with him about how to grow a micro business into big business. One of Brunson's passions is education. In fact, he's on the board of directors of BAU International University, which is where we sat down to talk. We planned to talk about micro businesses, but the conversation led to so much more. We had a great talk. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Paul, thank you so much.
It's my honor to be here.
Thank you so
My honor
much.
to be here.
Even my producer is excited to meet you. Why do you think so many people connect with what you have to say and your experience?
Oh man, well, one is I appreciate that the producer is appreciated on here. That makes me feel good.
Right.
At least we know that the edits will be great.
Right.
I think that when folks look at my story, one thing that I try to do is I try to be authentic and I try to be transparent. So if there are troubles that I'm going through, if there's issues that I'm going through, I like to disclose it. Right before the camera went on, I was saying how a couple of years ago I used to have the same suit. I think people could relate to the fact that, for a year, I couldn't afford another suit. Like I had to wear the same suit. And so I think folks resonate with authenticity, and that's probably what it could be. I hope that's what it is.
Right. Well, so for those that don't know, how do you get started?
Oh man, so that's a really good question, because I don't know how far to go back, because I was selling cans of Coke, I remember, for 25 cents, when I was 11 years old. I got my first job when I was 13. I had to get the worker's permit to get it. So I've been hustling. I think I've been on the grind for a long time. But I think most recently it was, I was working for a very wealthy Turkish family. And so this is in 2008. And while I was doing that during the day, I was getting my hustle on at night, right? So at night I had a nonprofit organization, and what we did is we provided test preparation to underserved youth.
Okay.
And one day I was checking all the students in. We had about 100 students in this program, and not one had two parents in the household. And it blew me away, and it was that led me into matchmaking, of all things.
Okay.
And it was the matchmaking that then led me. And so when I look back at my story, the one thing that I think about is I chase crumbs.
Wait, explain that.
So when I say chase crumbs is, all right, so let's go back to when I was at that nonprofit organization. I was really passionate about trying to strengthen families. That was what my passion was. That was my sole focus. What can I do to strengthen families? That led me into matchmaking after doing a lot of research, right? So then my sole focus was matchmaking. That was all I wanted to do, was matchmaking. Matchmaking led me to television. When I got into TV, I started interacting with people live and started interviewing. So then all I wanted to do was then interview. I wanted to sit where you're sitting, and interview folks. And this whole idea of identifying a crumb and chasing down that crumb. And I think it was Steve Jobs, actually, who said it at his Stanford commencement speech. He said, in life, what you want to do is just put up dots. And what you'll find is that all of the dots connect at a certain point.
Wow.
And I think that really is just simply being passionate about something and going after it. Regardless of what anyone tells you, regardless of how stupid people say it is, regardless of how little or much money you think you're going to get from it, you chase down your passions.
Is that what led you to become an author?
I'll keep it 100 with you on the authorship. The authorship was really about creating more credibility.
Okay.
That was, I hate to just break it down like that, but that's me being real, is that, so in 2011, when I entered the I was already in the matchmaking space, but I entered it nationally because I got the television show with Oprah.
Right.
The number one thing that I was fighting, was that I wasn't a credible source.
Okay.
Right? Because I didn't have a PhD in sociology or anthropology, and I wasn't a therapist. And so in order to gain credibility, one of the fastest ways to do that is actually to write a book.
Okay.
Now the problem, though, is that now, because of self-publishing, we have hundreds of thousands of people authoring books. So then the key is you want to have a successful book. So it was okay, become an author, publish a book on a major publishing platform.
Right.
So we got Penguin to publish the book, and then we did well. It became a best-selling book, and that gave credibility.
From what I understand, you're in the doctorate program now.
Yeah,
Take it to the next level.
Yeah, I am. I still am.
Credibility won't be a problem anymore. It's not a problem now.
I hope not. It's like, the funny thing about that too is I decided I was going to do the doctorate program years ago, but I decided not to do it because I would only be chasing it for the credibility.
Right.
And I wanted to chase it for something I was passionate about.
Right. We're speaking to, of course, those micro business, those smaller business owners, and they're listening to this conversation, wanting to know more about how he actually did it. Took it from like this one person operation to what you have now.
Right.
And it sounds like you did a lot. I mean, how many business cards did you have on you at any one time?
Yeah, I had like 8.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you know what's crazy is, and I'm Jamaican, right?
Right.
And my grandfather would tell me I was lazy because I only had 8 jobs, right?
Right.
But man, this is it's a gift and a curse, right? There's a good and a bad to this, and Gary Kelleher just wrote a book last year called The One Thing. It's one of the best books that I have read in the last year. I recommend especially small business, micro business owners to read it. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And what he says is that we have to focus, right? Focus on one thing until it catches fire.
Okay.
And when I look back at my career, even though I was doing lots of stuff, all of those things always had an intersection point. And that intersection point was my one thing. Even though right now there's a lot of things that appears as if I'm doing, right? I'm hosting television shows, right? I'm doing, there's a lot of stuff. I've got a matchmaking agency. I just started a tech company with my brother.
Right.
All of these things, there are intersection points. The key is to find your one thing or your intersection point and to focus on that. The issue that a lot of, I think, small business owners have is that they don't have intersection points. They're completely all over the place, right?
Right.
It's like they got like the grocery store business, and then they open up a dry cleaning business, and they got a food truck on the side. Like there's no intersection, and when you don't have any focus, you'll end up completely dismantling your business. So the key is focus, focus, focus.
At what point do you think they're ready to start that next venture?
When the first venture could stand alone.
Okay.
Right. It sounds terrible to say that.
No, that sounds like a jewel. That's a jewel.
Yeah, but when that first business can stand alone, so you could bring in other staff, it's almost like an autopilot business. It becomes, that passive income that you're looking for, whatever that may be. That's when you're ready to move to the next one.
Okay. So what are some of the challenges, though, that you faced growing your business to where it is now?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, so many. Cash flow, I think, is really critical for a lot of entrepreneurs. It was critical for me. And the thing about cash, and this is something that my Jamaican grandfather would tell me, is he said, any idea you have, if you could sell that idea or that product or service to 10 different people, you've got a business there, or you got the makings of a business. But you don't have a business until you can manage the flow of your cash. That's when you have a business. And what I find is that a lot of entrepreneurs don't have a challenge making money. Like, folks know how to hustle now. We can get out here and make $1. The question is, can you manage the dollars to come in when you got the expenses and keep that flow going? And so managing cash flow is key, and that's very, very important, and that was a big struggle for me. Secondly, I would definitely say, in this order too, is in the recruitment of staff.
Okay.
Right? And who you surround yourself with. Because even in a micro business, you can't do everything by yourself, right? You have to delegate, you have to have a team. Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right. And
so being able to identify the right people to work with was very challenging. For me, what I did is, I'd always heard you should hire the smartest people, right? But what I decided to do was I decided to hire people that I could have a good time with.
Right.
Folks that I could just have a beer, like I like Red Stripe.
Okay.
That's my beer, right? So if I know I could sit across, have a Red Stripe with you, then that's cool. And really what that means, to break it down intellectually, is it's having someone who connects with your values.
And that's interesting you say that, because that's the criteria that that we choose presidents with.
There you go. That we choose presidents, that we choose our spouse with.
Right.
And so that's the same criteria I use is, do we share the same values? If we share the same values, then okay, we can work on everything else, right?
Right.
And so the staff, the management of the staff was number 2. And just to throw out a number 3 is, I think educating myself on technology. I think this is really key, especially for micro business owners, because it was John Chambers, CEO of Cisco, that said recently that every business, no matter what, if you're a producer, these producers right here, no matter every business, you are becoming a technology company. You're going to be a technology company.
Wow.
And really what he's saying is that in everything that we do, we will leverage technology. And so we, in essence, will become technology companies. So we, as small business owners, need to educate ourselves on technology. And technology isn't just Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Technology is understanding software and the development of software. Technology is understanding, even if you can't code, it's understanding what that means, right? It's being able to be more aware of how technology will impact your business. And so this is something that I've had to educate myself a lot on. And so understanding technology, being able to recruit a good team, and then managing cash flow. Those are probably the three biggest challenges that I've had.
Okay. How important is money? Now we have a culture now to where, it's all about just trying to get to the dollar, get to the bag. I also have a lot of friends that want to start nonprofits, and a lot of people out here, so I wonder, what's the best motivating factor?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good question. And I'm going to say something that probably a lot of people will disagree with is, I think it's all right if you're out here just trying to chase the bag. You're just trying to get that money. I think that's fine if that's your thing. But that means that you will most likely, if you're successful, you'll end up being rich, right? Rich is someone that has a lot of money.
Right.
Me, I'm after wealth. Wealth is totally different than being rich.
That's right.
Wealth is about choices. And if you're after wealth, then you can't just approach it as, I'm just after this bag of money. You got to approach it as it's a totally different mindset. So I think it depends on what the objective is. And if the objective is just the money, then you just try to get the money then.
Right. A lot of people ask me about starting a business, and I always inform them, you have to worry about money, but there's only but so far chasing money can take you. Right. But when you talk about changing the world and changing your community, not even the world, just your community and your sphere of influence, that's, now we're talking about legacy.
Oh yeah, just like on that point is one of the largest hurdles for any small business owners to be successful is social capital, right? What is social capital? Social capital is just essentially who you know and what those people know, as well as what those people have. So you think about all the people you know, what do they know?
Right.
And what resources do they have? The problem with a lot of small business owners is that they don't have a large social network. They don't have a lot of social capital. They don't know a lot of people that know a lot around their business or have resources. So you think about that rich versus wealth mindset, right? Some of the most successful people that I know, right? And one of my passions is I literally interview billionaires. Right? So I've been interviewing billionaires for the last 2 years. And one of the things I've seen with these billionaires is before they popped, before they got to billionaire status or even 100 millionaire status, what they were able to develop was they developed a wide social network. That social network is wealth. That social network is options, right? With that, not only are they good, but their grandchildren who haven't even been born are good off of that social network, that social capital. And so it goes back to mindset, but just going back to that challenge is that I think if more of us focus on social capital, then we'll find that not only will we become rich, but we'll become wealthy.
That's a great point. And is it that logic that brought you to Mentor Mondays? And a follow-up question is, how important is a mentor to a business, to a micro business owner?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll do this. The second one first is that the mentorship of a business owner is everything. Okay. Right? And that's actually everything in life. I think that we need to have mentors everywhere. You need to have mentors in your love life. You need to have mentors in the gym.
Mentors in your love life?
Oh yeah, you need to have a love mentor.
Really?
No doubt.
Okay.
And the thing too is that you don't have to have a structured relationship like, Lawrence, could you be my mentor?
Right.
It's just somebody who shares your values, that you can communicate with, that you have an opportunity to sit and talk with, and that you can get guidance from. That's all that a mentor really is.
So it may not be something as formal as, can you be my mentor?
Very few of my mentors even know they're my mentor.
Right.
They don't even know it, right?
Wow.
But I sit and I get guidance from them.
Okay.
I sit down, have a red stripe with them,
right.
But then I do have some formal mentors. But even my formal mentors, like, you know, like this building that we're in,
Right.
Enver Ugel, he's a mentor of mine. I call him a mentor all the time, right? I've never sat and said, Enver, could you be my mentor?
Right.
Never, right? Never. But when he comes to, you know, from Turkey to DC, we'll sit, have dinner, and I'll just sit and listen to him and say, here's what's going on in my life. What do you suggest? That's mentorship, right? But we need to have mentors in all aspects of our life. And so mentorship is critical. Now, in terms of Mentor Monday, that's exactly why I started Mentor Monday.
Okay.
It came off of a blog post that I wrote where I said I wanted to be more of a mentor to people, right? And I couldn't do it one-on-one. And so I decided that I would go on this video Spreecast platform,
Right.
and I would just mentor folks. And by mentoring folks, that was just me answering questions. And then what I found is that, you know, people had questions that I couldn't answer. And I think this is an important point, is that I think a lot of people suffer from what's called a halo effect of, you start to get a little bit of an audience, and then you believe that you're an expert in every subject. Right. But no one is an expert in every subject.
Okay.
Right. Not even the president. Right. No one's an expert in every subject.
Right.
And so stay in your lane, but you could still add value to other people by bringing on, you know, other experts, allowing other people. And so that was what Mentor Monday came from. It was me trying to just share more value, share more advice with people.
Okay. Let's get a little technical with your matchmaking business. You started, you know, I remember it's just you flooding. Everybody was sharing, you know, Paul's videos. So I want to talk about your tech company and the tech venture that you're starting with your brother, and then,
Definitely.
but also I want to just talk about how important is it to build your brand online for a micro business?
Yeah, it's critical. I mean, going back to the John Chambers quote, is I really believe we're all tech companies.
Right.
And the thing that micro businesses can do is, see, micro businesses have an advantage to any other business in the world. We can pivot faster than big businesses. So if we see something, right, we can literally act on that thing. For me, what was interesting is I was competing with like the big brick and mortar, like Match.coms, these big companies, right? But if I saw something in the news that I wanted to talk about, if I saw something that I wanted to do, I could do it this afternoon. I didn't have to sit through 5 board meetings and this and this and that.
Right.
And so we can move fast. What technology can do is technology will accelerate how fast we can move. Technology can also increase our reach with whatever that message is. Technology is incredibly, incredibly important. And so anyone who's a micro business owner, I would say, begin thinking of yourself as a micro technology company.
Right.
And if you begin to think of yourself as a micro technology company, you'll look at everything that you do differently.
Right, and you know what's so fascinating? Do you think about, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter? We have so many low cost or no cost options in order to build your brand. You know, you have all these companies that are trying to, you know, they go right to the same platforms we go on every day.
This is a really good point. And even just to push deeper on it, is that not only do we have the same real estate as the McDonald's and these big companies, but consumers today, they want to buy personal brands.
Right.
This is the reason why you see the Googles and the Apples and all these huge companies, why they roll out individuals, why they roll out, you know, subject matter experts, people, so that consumers can attach themselves onto a person. You know, when Apple does anything now, they'll roll out Drake. Drake has a big deal with Apple. They'll roll out YouTube.
Right.
Why? Because people have an easier time resonating with Drake or with YouTube than with Apple itself, which is fascinating, right? This is why actually Steve Jobs was a big loss for Apple, because everyone connected with Steve Jobs. My point here is that as a micro business owner, we represent our business, right? And people, as well as investors, right? What we like to do is we like to buy other people. We don't like to necessarily buy the idea. We like to buy the other person. And this is why, as a micro business owner, having control of your brand, control of your messaging is everything. And you actually have a leg up on a lot of these big companies, because people want you, opposed to wanting a brand.
You know, Gary Vaynerchuk, who I follow, you know, closely, you know, he speaks to that. I mean, we're getting gone are the days that, you know, we're gonna, you know, the big billboards, the advertising on those, and the buses and the radio. So let's talk more about your technology company.
Definitely.
Right.
So I put the cap on. I was like, we're a micro-technology company.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, so my brother is truly, he's a techie. Right?
Okay.
He's an engineer by training. He's also an art director, so it makes him perfect technical.
Right.
I'm the non-technical. We're good co-founders. We created a company called Convo. It's cnvo.co, Convo.
Okay.
And the whole idea with Convo is it's a place for multicultural entrepreneurs to share information and resources so we could build more social capital.
Really?
That's what it's about. It is allowing us to create conversations around content, around different resources, so at the end of the day, we could build better organizations and also better lives.
So I never know when I'm gonna see Paul. I'm just expecting it now. You're gonna be somewhere in the magazine I read. You're gonna be somewhere on TV, but and that's now. So,
Right.
But what's next?
Well, this is a good announcement for you, because
Right.
so this hasn't been made public.
Really?
But I have a new show,
Really?
primetime show
Prime time?
that's coming on next year on ABC.
Really?
Yeah.
I like how you slipped the prime time in there.
Primetime. Had to put on.
Right.
And I said, you know, I'm proud of this
Right,
because, you know,
right.
like everybody fights for, I mean, Kerry Washington was fighting for prime time,
right? Is it gonna be like acting or?
It's not acting.
Okay.
It's docu-series.
Okay,
We actually
great.
started pre-production already. We film, it's called a 365 show. So we film the entire year, and it won't air until Christmas season 2016.
Wow.
So it's
wow.
it's a massive, like, it's an amazing show.
Okay.
And I'm hosting it. And so it's one of these things where I'm crazy hype. It's the biggest opportunity I've had in my entire life. And to be honest with you, if I got this a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been ready for it.
Right.
Yeah. But now I'm like so chill about it because I'm like, I'm ready. You know,
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm built
Wow.
for it now.
Well, before we let you go, I want to know, how do you manage the success? You're the same person I've met years ago.
Wow.
And so how do you do it?
All right, so I'm gonna say something just straight, is
Okay.
that I never feel truly successful
Right.
until I'm sitting across from somebody. They're like, hey man, you're successful. Like, 3 hours ago, I was changing a dirty diaper. Like, my son was like
Right.
pissing all over my face. Like, so like, I wasn't feeling, you know, so I mean, I don't, you know,
That's
I don't feel it. I really don't feel it. Like, I'm constantly like, right, when we're done, like, I'm back on the grind.
Okay.
Like, and we were actually talking a little bit about this off camera.
Mm-hmm.
Is I've seen this with with people who I interview who are successful,
Mm-hmm.
right? What they always tell me is they're just getting started. They're just now moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I was saying Spike Lee, 58 years old. He feels like he's just halfway done with his career.
Wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Susan Taylor, I was saying, in her 70s, she feels like she's just getting started. Like, all of these folks are like, I'm just now getting going. So they don't even feel like they have made that, you know, they've leaped the success hurdle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't feel there. You know, I'm appreciative, like, when I hear comments like that.
Right.
I'm appreciative when someone says, like, Paul, I look up to you, or something like that. I'm appreciative of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the word success, I feel like, is still over there, and I'm
Chasing the crumb.
chasing it. I'm chasing the crumb.
Man,
There
well,
you
it's
go.
a
You
pleasure.
wrap that up nice.
Right.
Chasing the crumb.
It's a
Yeah.
pleasure, you know, speaking with you and getting, you know, kind of getting into your mindset. Like I said, I see you all the time, and when I see you, you're the same person, and you know, we support people like that. You know, we want to help and be a part of, in any way, your success when you have that type of nature. So I just thank you for stopping by. All right, man.
All right, man.
Take it
Appreciate it.
easy.
Thank you.
All right.